Good evening, everyone. Ted Bundy has 13 hours to live, and he is using those hours to try to buy himself more time.
Tom, the latest information we have is that Bundy has now confessed to yet another murder, this one a Grand Junction, Colorado woman. But despite his continued willingness, prison officials say they are confident they'll go on with tomorrow's execution as planned. Shortly after 2:30 this afternoon, the state prison showed the first sign of what was to come. A diesel engine that will power tomorrow's scheduled electrocution was turned on and tested. What's the confidence level among your department, if you have one, about whether this is going to be carried out?
They're expecting to do their jobs tomorrow morning.
Today, an estimated 300 reporters from around the world gathered across the street from the prison. One of them, a California radio reporter, James Dobson, held an hour-long interview with Bundy this afternoon. Hugh Ainsworth is also here. He spent years studying Bundy and describes how Bundy once boasted of his own self-importance.
He said, look, he said, this Boston Strangler, he isn't much. He said, my cases are far more impressive. He said, think of the transcontinental aspect. Think of the television coverage. Think of all this. You know, he said, I don't mean to brag, but my case is much more valuable.
Outside the prison grounds, one sole demonstrator, if you can call him that. George Johnson of Jacksonville said he came to say how much he hated Bundy, but also to sell these T-shirts. How much do they go for?
$10 or 2 for $20.
Are you making money on those?
Not a lot.
You're making some money. Do you think
making some.
You think it's appropriate to make money off some man's execution?
I don't see why not.
Investigators are working too, trying to get all the information they can from Bundy before tomorrow's scheduled execution.
This guy is totally consumed with murder 24 hours a day. He's fantasizing about it. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about his next victim, planning his next event, needing to go out and search, needing to go out and kill. And I think that's what he is. He's a killer.
What reporters are waiting for now is a James Dobson to exit the prison. He is the reporter who got the one-on-one interview, and we understand it did take place inside the prison. As yet, he has not come out, and he has promised to tell us what Bundy did say. Tom?
Tad, prison officials, have they been briefing reporters on what Bundy is doing hour by hour, or do they come out periodically to let you know what's been going on? The reason I ask this question is, has it been determined whether or not Bundy met with his psychiatrist that he was scheduled to see today?
As I understand it, that is primarily what he's been doing all day, meeting with his lawyers and his own psychiatrist that was appointed by his lawyers. And there's a possibility he'll be meeting with state lawyers tonight in an effort to perhaps prove that he is not able to understand the punishment he's about to receive and therefore should be put into an insane asylum.
I remember how the people were just like freaking out. Just so much confusion going on. People were going home. I mean, the guy was on the loose at the time.
The early morning hours of Super Bowl Sunday, 1978, 2 Chi Omega sorority sisters were bludgeoned to death as they slept. 2 others were seriously injured, and another woman a few blocks away was raped and beaten. Former Assistant Attorney General Ray Markey fought the last stay Bundy got 5 hours before he was to be executed in 1986.
Every time he opens his trap and brings some other legal proceeding or some other charade, these victims have to go through the same process. And I mean, to keep on and glorify this cretin is really, I think, terrible.
It calls for the death penalty in order to substantiate our laws, which demands and screams for it.
He took away the innocence of Lake City, of being able to let your children go without worrying about them, and that'll never come back.
Winston Dean, Channel 4 Eyewitness News.
If and when Ted Bundy is put to death tomorrow morning, Channel 4 will bring you a live report from the state prison. As we said, Bundy is scheduled to die at 7 a.m.
The state prison at Stark, Florida is the center of worldwide attention. Ted Bundy has been on death row here for 9 years and 278 days. Father of 18-year-old Susan Rancourt.
They say that he's running scared right now. He's got one more appeal, and it looks like it's going to be turned down, and he's running really scared.
And I thought to myself, the electric chair is too good for him.
Notorious serial killer in the nation is scheduled to die tomorrow morning in Florida's electric chair. Ted Bundy is an articulate, intelligent, 42-year-old man, a former Boy Scout, law student, and Republican Party activist. He also is the subject of 5 books and a television movie and the object of widespread loathing. Bruce Hall is at the Florida State Prison.
Serial killer Ted Bundy is talking, confessing to murder after murder, giving investigators grisly details of a decade-long cross-country crime spree.
I think he was born to kill. There was just, I don't know if it's a bad seed or what, but boy, he is just totally consumed with murder.
The confessions appear to be similar to those Bundy recorded himself several years ago. In the tapes made available this weekend, Bundy tells of a murder and describes himself in the third person.
He placed his hands around her throat just to throttle her into unconsciousness so that she wouldn't scream anymore. And then, let's say, he removed her clothes and raped her.
This kind of serial killer, and particularly Ted, is a very manipulative personality. And one of the things that I think gives the kind of great high and excitement to the stalking and killing is the power that you exert over others.
It was the thrill of power that authorities say led Bundy to kill 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. She was his last victim and the murder for which he is scheduled to die.
I would take a great deal of personal satisfaction in seeing Ted Bundy die.
Bundy has been convicted of 3 murders, confessed to a dozen more, and is still a suspect in another 24.
We're probably only going to know, at most, the 23 or 24 that are most publicized.
The victims were all young, pretty, and with long, dark hair. Bundy now says he cut up most of the bodies so they would never be found. Investigators believe these last-minute confessions may be a ploy to postpone the execution.
I think he's a whiner, he's a complainer, and I think he's a wimp. And that's why I think that as they drag him down the line, why he'll be crying and he'll be saying, oh, let me tell you about another one. Give me another hour or so.
For him to be negotiating for his life over the bodies of victims is despicable.
We also argued that Mr. Bundy, in fact, was incompetent.
His attorneys are making last-minute appeals, but they have little hope left of keeping Ted Bundy from his date with the electric chair, now set for 7 a.m. Eastern Time.